Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Hi, it's afternoon now. Yeah, I'm a little confused with the time still. There's a 2 hour difference, but still sometimes it feels quite much. So my name is Katja Upadyaya, and I work as a university lecturer currently at the University of Helsinki at the Department of Education and Sciences, and my background is anyway in psychology, and I wrote my PhD on parents' causal attributions. How do they explain the children's successes and failures at school? Then I moved on to motivation, learning, teacher-student interaction, school principles, occupational well-being, and now I'm back to parents, and it's very exciting for me. So recently we've been carrying out some studies on parental burnout, and today I'm going to talk about the parental burnout in association with work burnout, and also how parents' well-being and parental burnout might spill over to their children. And so I will present you some results from 2 different studies we've been doing in our department. So if we think about burnout, burnout typically, we easily talk about burnout in just like in our common discussions. We say how we are so exhausted, or how we feel burned out, and how we feel that our well-being is not so okay. But this is kind of like it's very normal to feel stressed. It's very normal to feel exhausted. But when the situation prolongs and kind of like the recovery is not helping you anymore, you are not recovering from your exhaustion anymore, then we actually start talking about the real burnout that we are talking about here. And burnout symptoms can be associated to different aspects of life. So burnout can occur related to your work, related to parenting, studies. And we recently had this nice seminar in Helsinki because there's actually a lot of research groups studying burnout from different angles. And we listened to each other's presentations, and we kind of like started realizing that feeling this exhaustion or burnout related symptoms can occur like in multiple aspects of your life. Also like in relationships. Sometimes there are like struggles that go on and on and on. So you might start feeling really exhausted in your own relationship or with your partner or in your marriage. You might have really intense life. What I've been recently thinking is that we study a lot, for example, how different jobs have become more and more intensive, but I also feel that our leisure time is so much more intensive, and there's no breaks anymore. If we are having a break, or if we are home, we are still on our phones, checking what our colleagues are doing on Twitter and so on. So I think life. So that's probably why we also talk about burnout more and more. And I think us as researchers should do something about it, or kind of like start giving a different message to people that, hey, stop, just go and have a walk with that guy who is go having a walk with his dog, and just stop doing anything with your mind and brain all the time. Okay, but that's my own passion, but let's move on to the presentation. So anyway, so burnout. When we talk about burnout, we also oftentimes talk about the resources and demands that we have present in our lives. For example, we might have a lot of workload. If we talk about job, we might have a lot of workload. We might have a lot of deadlines, like as academics. We might have pressure. We have to apply for funding and so on. So those are the demands. But then we might have, say, good social support, very good team at the work, and we might have good job environment. So those are the resources. So we have demands, we have resources, and it's kind of a scale that we are having there. And then when sometimes the demands that get heavier than the resources that we have, and when the situation prolongs, we start feeling burned out. And our study is focused on the COVID time, and of course, when the pandemic hit the world, everybody's life changed, and there were also new kinds of demands that occurred in our lives. We had to be more isolated. Parents had to switch between their own jobs and their children's education, being teachers with their kids at home at the same time, and suddenly work remotely from home, and so on. And there were concerns about the others' well-being, and we all know what it was. So the situation was a little bit different, and this happened in everybody's lives, and it also influenced our lives as employees and also our lives as parents if you have children, but also students. It also influenced the students' lives across the world. And well, if you think about parental burnout and job burnout, parenting in general is highly rewarding experience for everyone or most people, but sometimes there might be some different aspects in parenting, how you are, or what is your relationship with your child, or what kind of problems the child might have, or how heavy is your life situation, that you start also experiencing these parental burnout symptoms. And especially during COVID, the multitasking between your own job, mostly for many people was you had to do it remotely, and then also being the teacher at home for your children, that kind of like might have caused some extra burnout or extra burden in their lives. And but however, if you think about parental burnout and job burnout, they are slightly different, and they also load to different factors if we look at them more closely, and they have slightly different dimensions or the ways how we describe them. So both parental burnout and job burnout, they have this exhaustion part, so that you feel very exhausted or overtaxed of the things you have to do as a parent or as an employee. But then parental burnout has been also described as the kind of like as a contrast with your previous parental self. So you feel that you can't be as good parent as you used to be. You might also feel very fed up that you don't want to do this anymore. You just probably feel that you don't have enough resources to fulfill this parental role, and there might be also emotional distancing. You just withdraw from the parent-child relationship. But then job burnout has also the exhaustion part, but then also you might feel like cynical towards your work. You're gonna like have this loss of interest towards the job, and then you also might feel have this feeling of inadequacy. You feel that you don't have what it takes as an employee. And when we studied the parental job burnout during the COVID, we kind of wanted to know first that is it possible that these two aspects would be related? Is it possible that parents would experience simultaneously parental burnout symptoms and job burnout symptoms? And so we conducted these profiles or latent profile analysis, and then we wanted to see how different kinds of factors would be associated with the profile. So we studied parental involvement, the growth mindset, the job engagement, and the remote work situation, and also the SDQ, the parents' perceptions of the children's strengths and difficulties, and how they would be associated with the profiles. And so these results come from the longitudinal growing mind study, but we examined the parental burnout, unfortunately, just only once in the first pandemic fall, so that was fall 2020. So we couldn't run any longitudinal analysis with this data, but there were 1,300 parents who participated, and as oftentimes happens, most of them were mothers, so there were 80% were mothers. Another personal crusade that I have is to is to conduct a study on fathers mostly. I saw here actually on some wall that there were some presentations on mostly fathers, but I think it would be just so important to get more fathers to participate in these studies. Maybe we have to give the gift cards to some cool IT stores or whatever. I just want fathers to participate. So if you have any ideas how to make fathers to participate, please let me know. I will try to work on that. Yes, and then these were parents of 6th and 8th grade children, mostly in Helsinki area in Finland. And from Chilean profile analysis, we could find 4 kinds of profiles. So they were first a profile. We had a parental burnout. We had just like a single item there, or like a single factor. We didn't do the different dimensions of parental burnout, but job burnout, we have the exhaustion, cynicism, and inadequacy there. So first we found 56% of the parents felt that they had most like low burnout symptoms, like kind of like not even reaching to average level. Then 29% of the parents reported mostly low parental burnout, but a little bit altered job burnout. Then there was a profile for parents who reported high parental burnout, and then kind of like also altered job burnout. And then there was a profile, it consists of 8% of the participants, so they had high job burnout. So, but anyway, you can see a little over half of the parents didn't really experience much burnout at all. And then we could find that parents who were highly involved in their children's schooling and who emphasized the growth mindset and also perceived their children as having high pro-social skills more often belong to the low burnout profile than to the other burnout profiles. And but when children had some hyperactivity or other problems such as somatic problems, then the parents typically reported more parental burnout symptoms and also more job burnout symptoms compared to the low burnout profiles. And then parents reported high work engagement. They more typically belong to the other profiles than the high job burnout profile. And curiously also, when parents were working mostly remotely from home, they reported lower parental burnout symptoms than compared to the parents in the other profiles. So these results were very interesting for us, and we could see that the parental and job burnout symptoms, they are kind of like they can walk hand in hand. So from these studies, what I always think is that I don't know, I know it's difficult in research to take like a broader perspective on things, but we always take like little silos of this and that. So we see what happens at work. Okay, there are resources and demands at work, and then the people are happy or not happy and so on. But what happens at home also affects them, how you feel at work and how much energy and resources you have and how well you cope and so on. And so we should kind of like remember to think like take a little bit broader perspective on different things, or vice versa. We might just study parents and how they feel as parents, but they have life outside of parenting too. So this is what I always kind of want to remember, and if nothing else, I think we should at least discuss it in our articles to say that, hey, remember, this was just one aspect that we were studying. Life is so much more. And so this is something that we could a little bit have a little grasp on in this study. And but then our next question was, of course, what about children? What happened to them? Because when the COVID hit the world, there's lots of studies on children's well-being and on students' well-being and how they experience burnout or engagement and so on. And also in some of our other studies, we could see that for some students, their burnout symptoms increased during COVID, but for some students, their burnout symptoms decreased and their engagement increased, which is very interesting. So there's also another important thing to remember is always that there's different kinds of people and different environments work differently for different people. So you should kind of try to remember that too and try to also do research on these topics whenever possible. But so we then wanted to see in this study that whether parental burnout symptoms and also the job burnout would be spill over to the children's study burnout. So these were 6th and 8th grade children or students, and then the study burnout you typically examine in a very similar way as job burnout. So in terms of exhaustion, feelings of cynicism and feelings of inadequacy. So of course we thought that maybe these two would be associated. So maybe job burnout would kind of like spill over to children's school burnout. But it didn't happen. So what we could see was that it was actually parental burnout that spilled over to the children's school burnout. And job burnout had no effect at all. And then we took the resilience or academic buoyancy, and we could see that it had a huge effect on the school burnout. So it protected students against the school burnout. In this study, gender didn't have any effect as well, children's gender. We couldn't include the parents' gender because most of them were mothers anyway. So this was very surprising for us. Not very surprising, but it was kind of unexpected, at least that job burnout didn't spill over to the study burnout. But then, if you think about the resources and demands, parents are a huge resource for their children. So if there's lots of parental support, children will also do well. But when parents suffer from burnout, when they are not feeling well, they can't be as good support their children as they otherwise could be. So maybe this explains why it was especially the parental burnout that spilled over to the children. And again, from these results, we could see how it would be important to study the families as a whole. Again, we have written like so many studies on school burnout, but what happens at home also affects hugely the children. If the parents are not doing well, if they are not able to give the support that the students would need, the student might also start feeling exhausted and burnt. So I think these were probably the main messages of my presentation today. And I would want to thank you all for your